I got the name for the album from the book Common Ground, which is a really important piece of writing, I think. By Rob Cowan. About a particular patch of ground which is neither urban nor rural, but I think kind of captures something about tensions in nature and in humanity, and it's a beautiful piece. So that's really influenced and inspired a lot of the writing on the album. And the word Instar means, it's basically shape or likeness, and it describes any of the stages in the life cycle of anything that changes, really.
Right,
so
it's like insects.
It's an insect
like that,
thing.
right.
But because we then kind of started to see that there were lines through the album that were about transformation, and as well they were strongly about nature, it just sort of seemed to be the kind of overarching theme of it, really, which I think was interesting because it wasn't originally the first track on the album, but it is. So we actually put the title track first. Yeah,
then we end up with this track that sort of, it does develop, but it does have these little layers. And
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because you started to kind of roll with this basically verse chorus piece of writing that I'd done, which was about human transformations. And it's like a love song, but it's about how we, every stage in our life is just that, it's just a stage, and we will hopefully move on, hopefully to something better. But it's like you kind of ran with something almost quite insectile with it. Yeah. You kind of took the sound
I
version
had
of
these ideas, because the guitar part that you play on the record, that you were playing in the demo, just rolls throughout, and it is a whole, with the voice and the guitar. So I drew upon not only what it sounded like, I actually got this much more relaxed. I wanted this sort of juxtaposition of very relaxed, kind of almost New Orleans-y kind of vibe from the drums and bass, that sort of second line thing.
Yeah.
But also that, insectile kind of snippy little bits of things. That's why we came up with that string part that's, has the pits in and things.
Yeah,
so that kind of happens, and it bursts, and it happens over here. And
music can actually do that, and you're doing that. Well, I'm doing that with the verbal part of it. You're doing it like right from the beginning of the track, which actually does sort of unhatch. So you have this sound before I even start playing that sort of is, like something unfurling its wings.
And a few tracks on the record do that, actually. You get a bit of a sort of a right, we're ready to begin, like a bit like the conductor, getting the orchestra ready. You get a bit of that sort of, but sonically, you get a bit of that impression that things are going to start now.
Yeah.
And that's and it is, and then you have that the pupae, the hatching of the song,
the
almost
cocoon sort of thing, and it becomes that.
And then the various sort of elements, different changes, and it does have, each verse is still obviously apparently same structure, same melody, but there are different structures of arrangement within the verses.
Yeah, see, I think that's really, it's quite an important process to do, to be part of, when actually I'm writing from the perspective of sort of traditional, like really traditional folk sort of elements, which are incredibly repetitive.
Yeah.
So my songs actually, they might have a sort of narrative opening, but they actually don't have a sort of sonic or structural change, really, not much. So that's sort of
we had to build some of them in.
You kind of have to make that happen from this very sort of binary sort of verse chorus.
Well, it's great, because you get these structures, and a lot of, when you send me something, I hear other ideas within there, and I hear sort of sections that have yet to exist, maybe. And then they come in, and we end up with this kind of this ebb and flow.
Yeah, and you end up with the combination, which I really like, because it's the first track and it's meant to say something about everything that's about to follow. I really like the fact that, going back to that sort of tension, that there's things in there that were there at the moment when I wrote the song. So I wrote the song in my garden. It's about gardens, and it's got that sort of sense of nature, but quite modulated, quite human. It's about human nature in lots of senses. So the little guitar part that I do was the one that I wrote the song over, and that's still intact. So
Absolutely.
You haven't changed it.
Well,
but stuff has.
That's something
kind of
that I think is crucial.
Flight.
That's something that I think is crucial with all of the way that we work with your songs, is that the elements of what you initially play are always in there, and 9 times out of 10 it is exactly what you play on guitar or fiddle, whatever. That is the core of the song, and then everything else is built around it. And I think that this is a good example of the way that it's sort of the building and the different sort of structures and parts that come back in and out. But you could take any of it away, and it would still exist at the core of it. It's still got that spine.
Yeah.
It's got a backbone to it.
It does have the backbone.
It's hard, our bodies as we fall.